Hello and welcome to this final first look exploring session looking at Blurt, Master Constable, or the Spaniard's Night Walk. We are about to go into Act 4 through to the end of the play. We've been enjoying it immensely so far. I'd love to say there was a lot of plot. There's a chap called Blurt. He's a Master Constable. He does stuff. We met him in a couple of days ago. He's quite fun. And then there's a sort of love triangle plot thing going on, which involves two dudes, one trying to marry the other dude's sister, and there was a war and they captured somebody else, and she was given this somebody else, Fontinell, as a prisoner, and they fell in love, and the dude and his mate, they're just being arses, and there's some courtesan involved in the plot thing, but there's a plot. It's quite tenuous, otherwise it's really fun. There's some other people wandering around doing stuff as well. There's something to do with Curvetto and a rope. There's going to be a rope involved, and Imperia has got some client in her boarding house who they've been setting up the trapdoor to get rid of. So we're looking forward to the trapdoor coming into motion. So there's been some setup for some rope action and some trapdoor action. I'm looking forward to some payoff here. There's a lot of potential for farce. To read today, to read Blurt, who will return. He's only been in one scene. He's coming back. Reading Blurt is
played by an aging Alan in Suffolk.
Reading Imperia and Hippolito is...
Hello, my name's Lynn Freitas. I teach college composition here in the Northwestern United States.
Reading Fontinell and Frisco is...
That actor still based in Montpellier, France.
Reading Curvetto and Slubber is...
DiRoberto, Tucson, academic.
And reading Simperina and the Duke is...
Rachael, actor on the East Coast. I'm a Simperina, not a simp.
Reading the Woodcock, Virgilio and Violetta is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu, and I'm an author based in the southeast of England.
And reading Lazarillo, Trivia and Camillo is...
Hi, Briony Sparrow, actor in Lincolnshire.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions and leaping in if I have messed up in the doubling, which may indeed have happened. Who knows? So without further ado, we're going to dive into what has been labelled as Act 4, Scene 1. There should be act breaks in this, but the original text doesn't actually have proper scene divisions. So running Scene 8, Curvetto, who we met earlier, kissing and paying Simperina and talking about turning up at 10, and there'll be a rope. Let's find out what happens. Act 4, Scene 1 or Scene 8. Enter Curvetto with a lantern.
Just 10? 'Tis 10 just. That's the fixed hour for payment of my love's due fees. That broke, I forfeit a huge sum of joys. Ho, love, I'll keep time just to a minute. Aye, a sweet guide's loss is a deep penalty. A knight so rich a venture to taste rack would make a lover bankrupt, break his back. No, if to sit up late, early to rise, or if this goldfinch that with sweet notes flies and wakes the dull eye even of a Puritan can work, then wenches, Curvetto is the man. I am not young, yet I have youthful tricks, which peering day must not see. No, close, close, old courtier, perilous fellow, I can lie, huge in the bosom, close, yet none shall spy. Stay, here's the door, the window, this cord? Dear Claude, thy blessed knot I kiss. None peeps, I hope. Night, clap thy velvet hand upon all eyes. If now, my friend, thou stand, I'll hang a jewel at thine ear, sweet night. And here it is, lantern and candlelight. A peal, a lusty peal, set. Ring love's knell. I'll sweat, but this I'll bear away the bell.
Pulls on the cord and is drenched with water. Enter Simperina from above.
Senor, who's there? Senor Curvetto.
Oh, Drowned, Noah's flood, ducked over head and ears. Oh, sconce, and oh, sconce, an old soaker. Oh, I sweat now till I drop. What villainies, oh, punks, punketeros, nags, hags. I will ban, I have catched my bane.
Who's there?
A waterman.
Who rings that scolding peal?
I am wringing wet, I am washed. Oh, here's rosewater sold by the ounce. This sconce shall batter down those windows. Bounce.
What do you mean? Why do you beat our doors? What do you take us for?
You're all damned whores.
Signor Curvetto,
Signor Coxcomb, no?
what makes you be so hot?
You lie, I am cool. I am an old courtier, but stinking fool. Faugh.
God's my life. What have you done? You are in a sweet pickle if you pulled at this rope.
Hang thyself in it, and I'll pull once again.
Mary Muff, will you up and ride? Y'are mine elder. By my pure maidenhead, here's a jest. Why, this was a waterwork to drown a rat that uses to creep in at his window.
Fire on your waterworks. Catch a drowned rat? That's me. I have it. God's a mercy head. Rat? Me? I smell a rat. I strike it dead.
You smell a sodden sheep's head. A rat. Aye, a rat. And you will not believe me, Mary. Oh, I have believed of your betters. Mary, snick up.
Simp, nay, sweet simp, open again. Why, Simperina.
Go from my window. Go. Go from. Away. Go by, old Hieronymo. Nay, and you shrink at the wetting. Walk, walk, walk.
I cry thee mercy. If the bowl were set to drown a rat, I shrink not, am not wet.
A rat by this hemp, and you could ha smelt. Hark you, here's the bell. Ting, ting, ting. Would the clapper were in my belly, if I am not mad at your foppery. I could scratch, fie, 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 as my mistress says. But go, hie you home, shift you, come back presently. Here you shall find a ladder of cords. Climb up, I'll receive you. My mistress lies alone, she's yours. Away.
Oh, simp.
Nay, Scud, you know what you promised me. I shall have simple yawling for this. Begone and mum.
Claps the window shut and exits.
Thanks, Mum. Dear girl, I am gone. 'Twas for a rat upon my life. Thou shalt have gifts. I love thee, though thou putst me to my shifts. I knew I could be overreached by none. A perilous head, lie close, I'm gone.
And exit. So, got a bit of a ducking there for his troubles. Does seem that the people frequenting this particular house do not have the best of luck with what's going on here. Was that the plan all along? I mean, it's like it wasn't properly foreshadowed in the earlier scenes. I didn't get the impression that Simperina was setting Curvetto up there for, it felt like that was a genuine meet-up, but it does seem like that's not the case. Any thoughts in the room about, what's actually going on here? Because I do wonder about, precisely the situation. Alan?
Well, I'm quite surprised they didn't actually use a chamber pot as part of the gag.
Well, we have encountered rose water before in other plays. Rose can produce as much water as you like. So that's not impossible. He definitely does. There is a sense of they do talk about it smelling pretty awful, sounding like a sheep dip or something. Old Geronimo. That makes me wonder about things as well, which I'll check on anon. Other thoughts about this little scene, Briony?
Yeah, it's just kind of a bit of a random custard pie in the face moment, isn't it? Sort of, like you say, it wasn't really we weren't expecting him to be golden anyway, but he clearly has been. But I guess if it was run at pace, you'd probably just laugh that he's covered in piss.
I mean, in terms of the flow of the action, and of course the we've got it marked as, you know, that there's an act break between the two, but I don't none of the act divisions are from the period. It's just someone trying to make an attempt to decide where they are. We can infer that there were act breaks because it was a boys' company play. But if we take the action running, we have that scene with Curvetto and Simperina at the very top of the previous scene. We have Lazarillo's big scene. They mention the trapdoor, and then we go straight into this scene. So it sort of flows logically as part of the action. It feels like it's a continuous stream. So it's that sense you don't get Simperina doing an aside at any point, going, ha ha ha, we've got the water trap set up, like we just had the trapdoor mentioned with for Lazarillo. So I do wonder if there's something absent there. Yes. So Lynn.
Yeah, I find the way this play is portraying the court is really interesting. I am really strongly reminded of a painting from much later, Manet's Olympe, or Portrait of Olympia, a nude portrait, which is sort of famously, interpreted as this woman, like, yes, I'm naked, yes, I'm a sex worker, but no, not until I say so, because the way her hands are placed, and this play seems to be saying something similar, like, yeah, these women are for sale. They're sex professionals. They're sort of, on the margins of society, but they only sell to who they want to sell to. And yes. So in that way, they have so much more agency than women typically do. It's like, yes, all my relationships with men are illegitimate, but I get to pick them. I don't want to sleep with you. Not taking your money. Not worth it.
Well, we know that Curvetto is an appallingly low tipper from earlier. I mean, he's just offering a few pence each time. It's really quite. So you get the impression that just get rid of this guy, just lead him up, and drop him because he's not worth your money, or his money. So it's not worth it. So it might be that, and it might be in the signpost. And I'd say we've got we've got these little Spanish tragedy references, and of course around about now we're going to get Geronimo. Whether it's actually a thing yet, it certainly will exist in a couple of years' time, but this little reference makes me wonder whether it's slightly earlier than we're thinking. I don't know which company it's for. I'm going to check that little thing now, but it does feel like there's some additional currency on that, because Geronimo being the comedy version of the Spanish tragedy, so which we know and love from many moons ago since we did that. We must come back to it. It was so much fun. We recommend it. It's available on the YouTube channel now. Okay, any other thoughts before we move on? No. Okay. Oh, yes, Elizabeth.
I particularly liked the line, "Thou shalt have gifts." I was wondering how to play that. Was he really like, "You shall have more things from me," or was he like, "Oh, thou shalt have gifts"? I was just really wondering, because he kind of has a change of tone towards the end.
Yes, Kyle.
It seemed to me like that was genuine, like he was shifting back and forth between being insulted and trying to retain favors. That maybe I read it wrong.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Was it that he was he'd been convinced by Simperina's really not very convincing argument because he's that much of a gull, or was it sarcastic? I think we'll have to hunt for more data later on. I think the jury's a little out on that point, but it's a really good question because I don't know absolutely the answer to it. Okay, let's hunt for that answer. As we go into Act 4, Scene 2, or running Scene 9, music suddenly plays, and birds sing. It's the only one I've got on standby. I've got an owl somewhere I can't find. Oh, yeah, it's over here. There we go. Yeah. Anyway, that may or may not be useful later on. Enter Lazarillo, bareheaded in his shirt, a pair of pantoffles on, a rapier in his hand, and a tobacco pipe. He seems amazed and walks so up and down.
Saint Jacques and the 7 deadly sins. That is the 7 wise masters of the world. Pardon me for this night. I will kill the devil.
From within,
Thou, Prince of Blackamoors, thou shalt have small curse to laugh if I run thee through. This chamber is haunted. Would I had not been brought to bed in it, or else were well delivered, for my heart tells me 'tis no good luck to have anything to do with the devil. He's a poultry merchant.
and there's a song within. Midnight's bell go ting, 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 ting. Then dogs do howl, and not a bird does sing. But the nightingale, she cries, twit, 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 twit. Owls then on every bough do sit. Ravens croak on chimney tops. The cricket in the chamber hops, and cats cry mew, mew, mew. The nibbling mouse is not asleep, but he goes peep, 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 peep. And the cats cry mew, mew, mew. And still the cats cry mew, mew, mew.
I shall be moused by pusscats, but I'd rather die a dog's death. They have 9 lives apiece, like a woman, and they will make it up 10 lives if they and I fall a-scratching. Bright Helena of this house, would thy Troy were afire, for I am a cold. Or else would I have the Greek's wooden kirtle to ride away. Most ambrosian-lipped creature, come away quickly, for this night's lodging lies cold at my heart.
And the Spanish pavin plays.
The Spanish pavin! I thought the devil could not understand Spanish, but since thou art my countryman, oh, thou tawny Satan, I will dance after thy pipe.
He dances the Spanish pavin.
Ho, sweet devil, ho! Thou wilt make any man weary of thee, though he deal with thee in his shirt. Sweet beauty shall not come. I'll fall to sleep and dream of her. Love dreams are ne'er too deep.
Falls down through a trapdoor. Enter Frisco above, laughing.
Ho, ho, Frisco! Madonna! I am in hell, but here is not hell, here is not fire. Hellfire is all put out. What ho? So ho, ho! I shall be drowned. I beseech thee, dear Frisco, raise Blurt the Constable or some scavenger to come and make clean these kennels of hell, for they stink so that I shall cast away my precious self.
Enter Imperia.
Is he down, Frisco?
He's down. He cries out, he's in hell. It's heaven to me to have him cry so.
Fie, let him lie and get all to bed.
And exit Imperia.
Not all. I have fatting knavery in hand. He cries, he's damned in hell. The next shall cry, he's climbing up to heaven. And here's the gin. 1 woodcock's tane, I'll have his brother in.
And exit. So again, we'll briefly pause there. So we've got the trapdoor as mentioned earlier. We have the trapdoor. We've had the mention of there's all sorts of strange noises in this particular house. There's birds and songs and all sorts of things. So there's this place gone quite weird. I quite like its weirdness. It's this is not like the normal houses of resort that have been presented to us in early modern drama. It has to be said they've got quite a repertoire of things going on here, most of which seems to be attacking their clientele. I'm interested in this. I don't know what the business model for this is, but I'm interested in it. Briony.
Yeah, just to go to something a bit different. I don't know if it's the first time we've seen Frisco since, but we were a bit confused yesterday about whether he'd ended up staying in prison to get somebody out, and obviously, clearly, he hasn't.
Yes, that's true. There was a whole disguisey thing, wasn't there? That seems
So
to
we
have
still
been
don't know
quietly
how
forgotten.
the jailbreak happened.
Yeah, maybe it happened. Alan.
Maybe he's just been bailed out by his master, who was the one who got Fontinell imprisoned in the first place. Would be a logical way out of it. But yes, it is a loose end.
Yeah. Well, yeah, okay. There's a dangling thread there. How did Frisco end up where Frisco is? Okay. Let's crack on and find out where we're going, because maybe there's some details that will be filled in here. Maybe not. We shall see. Act 4, Scene 3, or running scene 10. Enter Curvetto.
Brisk as a capering tailor. I was washed. But did they shave me? No, I am too wise. Lie close in the bosom of their knaveries. I am an old hoary courtier, and I strike dead. I hit my mark, where a perilous head. Cast would you read cast? I'm not sure. I must find a ladder made of ropes.
Enter Blurt and Watch.
Ladder and rope, what fellow? Hanging, aye, but where? Aha, there does the riddle lie. I have scaped drowning, but I hope I shall not scape the ladder and the rope.
Yonder's a light, Master Constable.
Peace, Woodcock. The sconce approaches.
Phew.
Ah, whistling? Slubber, jog the watch and give the lantern a slap.
Phew, Simp?
Enter Frisco above.
Who's there?
Who's there?
Senior Curvetto. Here's the ladder. I watch to do you a good turn. I am Frisco. Is not Blurt abroad and his billmen?
No matter if they be, I hear none nigh. I will snug close. Out goes my candle eye. My sconce takes this in snuff. All's one, I care not.
Oh, why? Oh, when?
I come, close, hold rope and spare not.
Begins to ascend the ladder.
Now the candle's out.
Peace.
Frisco, light, my foot is slipped, call help.
Help, thieves, help, thieves, etc.
Thieves? Where? Follow close, Slubber. The lantern. Hold. I charge you in the Duke's name, stand. Sirrah, you like to hang for this. Down with him.
And they take him down.
Master Blurt, Master Constable. Here's his ladder. He comes to rob my mistress. I've been scared out of my wits above 7 times by him, and it's 40 to 1. If ever they come in again, I lay felony to his charge.
Felony, you coney-catching slave.
Aye, coney catching will bear in action. I'll coney catch you for this. If I can find our key, I will aid you. Master Blurt, if not, look to him and you will answer it upon your deathbed.
What are you?
A Venetian gentleman.
Woodcock. How dost thou, Woodcock?
Thank your worship.
Woodcock, you are of our side now, and therefore your acquaintance cannot serve, and you are a gentleman of velvet, I would commit you.
Why, what are you, sir?
What am I, sir? Do you not know this staff? I am, sir, the Duke's own image at this time. The Duke's tongue, for fault of a better, lies in my mouth. I am Constable, sir.
Constable, and commit me? Mary Blurt, Master Constable.
Away with him.
He strives.
It's
Life.
I say, away with him. I'll flirt you. I'll teach you to stand covered to authority. Your hoary head shall be knocked when this staff is in place.
Aye, but Master Constable.
No, pardon me, you abuseth the Duke in me, that am his cipher. I say, away with him. Gulch, away with him. Woodcock, keep you with me. Are we known for more than Blurt?
And exeunt Blurt and the watch with Curvetto. Enter Lazarillo.
Thou, honest fellow, the man in the moon, I beseech thee, set fire on thy bush of thorns to light and warm me, for I am dung wet. I fell like Lucifer, I think, into hell, and am crawled out, but in worse pickle than my lean pilcher. Hereabout is the hothouse of my love. Ho, ho! Why, ho there!
Uh, who's that? What devil stands hoeing at my door so late?
I beseech thee, Frisco, take in Lazarillo's ghost.
Lazarillo's ghost? Haunt me not, I charge thee. I know thee not. I am in a dream of a dry summer. Therefore, appear not to me.
Is not this the mansion of the cherry-lipped Madonna, Imperia?
Yes. How then? You gly-blown rascal, what art thou?
Lazarillo de Tormes! Sweet blood, I have a poor Spanish suit depending in your house. Let me enter, most precious Frisco. The mistress of this mansion is my beautiful hostess.
How? You turpentine pill, my wife, your hostess? Yeah, away, you Spanish vermin.
I beseech thee, most pitiful Frisco, allow my lamentation.
And you lament here. I'll stone you with brickbats. I am asleep.
My slop and mandillion lie at thy mercy, fine Frisco. I beseech thee, let not my case be thine. I must and will lament.
Must you? I'll wash off your tears. Away, you hog's face.
Drenches him with urine, then exits.
Thou hast soused my poor hog's face. Oh, Frisco, thou art a scurvy doctor to cast my water no better. It is a most rammish urine. Mars shall not save thee. I will make a brown toast of thy heart, and drink it in a pot of thy strong blood.
Enter Blurt and all his watch.
Such fellows must be taken down. Stand! What white thing is yonder?
Who goes there? Come before the constable.
My dear host Blurt.
You have blurted fair. I am by my office to examine you. Where have you spent these 2 nights?
Most big Blurt, I answer thy great authority that I have been in hell, and am scratched to death with pusscats.
Do you run on the score at an officer's house, and then run above 12 score off?
I did not run, my sweet-faced Blurt. The Spanish fleet is bringing gold enough to discharge all from the Indies. Lodge me, most pitiful billman.
Marry, and I will. I am in the Duke's name to charge you with suspicions of felony and burglary is committed this night, and we are to reprehend any that we think to be faulty. Were not you at Madonna Freckleface's house?
Signor, see.
Away with him. Clap him up.
Most thundering Blurt, do not clap me. Most thundering Blurt, do not clap me.
Master Lazarus, I know you are a sore fellow where you take, and therefore I charge you in the Duke's name to go without rustling, though you be in your shirt.
Commendable Blurt.
The end of my commendations is to commit you.
I am kin to Don Diego, the Spanish adelantado.
If you be kin to Don Diego that was smelt out in pools, you pack. Your lantados nor your lanteros cannot serve your turn. I charge you. Let me commit you to the tuition.
Worshipful Blurt, do not commit me into the hands of dogs.
Dogs?
Dogs?
Master Lazarus, there's not a dog shall bite you. These are true billmen that fight under the Commonwealth's flag.
Blurt?
Blurt me no blurts. I'll teach all Spaniards how to meddle with whores.
Most cunning constable, all Spaniards know that already. I have meddled with none.
Your being in your shirt bewrays you.
I beseech thee, most honest Blurt, let not my shirt bewray me.
I say, away with him!
Music within.
Music! That's in the courtesans. They're about some ungodly act. But I'll play a part in if ere morning. Away with Lazarus!
Come,
Come,
Spaniard.
Spaniard.
Like kites and thee, for this shall watch in dirt to feed on carrion.
Hence, bruh!
Oh, base Blurt! Oh, base Blurt! Oh, base Blurt!
And exits. So yeah, Blurt gets to do 2 arrests of people coming in and out of the or attempting entrance. Curvetto trying once again. I think it's fair to say Curvetto thought it was genuine. The excuse. Oh, you can come in another way. It will be fine. There'll be a ladder this time. So he's halfway up the ladder, and bad thing, he gets arrested. And then Lazarillo, it looks like that whatever pit he fell into was full of shit. So he comes back on absolutely very brown, I suspect, from nurse. And then he gets urine tipped over him. So, yeah, there's all the gross out stuff here. It's folly to strive. I feel that's one to put on a t-shirt, isn't it? You know, just for any learning establishment, just to out of context, just to say, just don't try. Now, in this context, striving meaning to just struggle. Don't struggle against the police. Don't do it. Briony.
I like the fact that he seemed to be most annoyed that it was his own piss that was thrown at him.
Friendly fire.
Yes, because you normally you have to pay for somebody else's. Rachael.
No, I was just gonna say, it kind of reminds me of that thing like Stephen King. I think it's like something that was attributed to him, that he said, like, if you can't scare people, go for a gross out. And this feels like if you can't get I don't know, a laugh out of people, get like a shock out of them by throwing piss on stage.
Yeah, we're not going for a ha-ha. We're going for from the audience. That's what we're looking for here, which seems perfectly legitimate to me. I'd say I was noting that, you know, the stage manager will not like this one. This is, you have to mop the stage between acts moment. That's just one to really just, annoy everyone. Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, the gross out aside, or maybe there's a way that this all relates that I haven't quite got my head around. But I mean, what's kind of great about this and something to notice is how subversive it is. I mean, comedy is subversive. You get to be anti-authoritarian and sort of dunk on men and dunk on the establishment in the sort of safe context of it's just a joke, it's just drama. So the person in the sort of power position here is Blurt, who is obviously not super bright and just an ordinary person. I mean, he says he represents the Duke, which kind of technically he does, but he's a lower order character, and these courtiers are completely at his mercy. You know, strictly speaking, prostitution is probably not legal. What the women are doing is tolerated, but they are, you know, could be, you know, called to court anytime, and they suffer nothing. They just basically like, I don't want to deal with you. I'd rather humiliate you. That'll be more fun than having sex with you. So, you know, there's just like a lot of inversion of normal power, societal power relations here, which is something comedy does, but it's just very striking how blatant those inversions are here, I think.
Briony.
Yeah, but also it's the women pulling all the strings. They've effectively used Blurt as their tool. And they're running the show. They're running rings around all of the men involved currently, which is such a refreshing change to be reading.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, and it seems like maybe the time, because there is a very definite time when these things are supposed to be happening. We've had 9 and 10, and just thinking they know that's when the watch come by, or something like that. Though I think the first time was mentioned that was Hippolito, but I could be wrong on that point. But yeah, maybe they know when the watch is coming by, and that's planned, and maybe not. Dan.
I'm struggling to remember any other plays where people are getting dunked on through and through. But I have to say, where they choose to dunk on them is really an appropriate moment where it's actually funny and it makes sense to the plot. It doesn't just seem like cheap humor here. I mean, Stephen King might have had something going there with this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, it is integrated. I mean, it's integrated and it's structured. I mean, we had that slight issue with the Curvetto setup, but once we're into it, it's fine because it's counterparting with Lazarillo as well. So the two are bouncing off each other in terms of the arrest. One's going up and one's going down. They're both getting water splashed over them. Or one of them hopes it's water anyway. It's not specifically stated whether Curvetto or whether that was water or not.
And even all of the chorus interjections here, I think, are really well chosen. I was suggesting that the audience, you could even get involved in this if one wants to be holding up signs, or who knows if maybe they were.
And the thing is, it's interesting that this whole act is people who. Technically, they don't even have a plot line for them. They are these sort of semi-peripheral characters. In theory, we were talking earlier, there's sort of an A plot with this love triangle that set up this situation, but none of the people in this situation are actually interacting with that plot at all. They're just people who are associated now with this establishment, which in theory is servicing the A plot, but actually isn't servicing the A plot. It's just taken the A plot and run away with the ball. It's like they've just said, no, you came to our house to set up what's his face and Fontinell. And no, we're going to tell our story instead of what we do to people we don't like. And there's something quite refreshing about that. It's quite nice. It's like, and they're stealing the B plot guy as well. Like Blurt, he's supposed to have a plot. No, he doesn't. He's just here now to deal with the empties that we've left outside our house. I like that. Alan.
I'm just wondering, in fact, whether what we've got is an existing physical comedy routine that had worked up over a period of time through improv or tradition, or simply the master observing the boys in the playground and what they were getting up to. And the script was then built around that. What can we do to actually justify chucking water around the stage or something else, doing it that way?
I don't know, because again, we're relatively early in the return of the boys' companies in this time, so I don't know how much we can talk about a tradition. I mean, that's not to say that they weren't still doing some kind of performance prior to this. But I'd be surprised if the agency is with the performers side of things, where it seems to be this is. And I think Dan was saying we have encountered some liquid throwing and potential mess before. I don't think we've encountered anything as structured as this or as integrated. It feels like it's all part of a thing, rather than a Lazzy type situation that you might get in Commedia dell'arte or something similar. Kyle.
It's a little weird because you had said he did believe them and was going in a back way, possibly, Curvetto. But what I noticed when I was reading it is it sounded like he didn't believe them. Like he was saying, it seemed like he was almost going to get back at them. Risk as a capering tailor, I was washed, but did they shave me? No, I am too wise. It seems like he's onto so maybe he's going to get them back at them, and that's when they arrest him. I don't know.
He's going to break in and just make some mischief or something. That's his plan.
That's what it seemed like to me.
If that was the case, I would like the ladder and rope to be there for a separate plot reason that he takes advantage or attempts to take advantage of or something. Otherwise, why is the rope? Why is it there? But I think you're right. It does seem that the text is pushing in that direction, not that he was believing that he's going to try and make good. And Frisco again. What is Frisco doing here? How is he functioning? Lots of questions that I feel that we would need to workshop and really work through to perhaps come with definitive answers. Any more thoughts before we go into what is called Act 5 and may indeed be Act 5? Who knows? Okay, let's go on then. Act 5, Scene 1, or running Scene 11. Revenge of the A-plot. Enter Camillo, Hippolito, Virgilio, or Asserino, Baptista. All these lovely people with names who a lot of them don't seem to say anything. Bentivoglio, Deutsch and Dandyprat, all weaponed, their rapier sheaves in their hands.
Gentlemen and noble Italians, whom I love best, who know best what wrongs I have stood under, being laid on by him who is to thank me for his life, I did bestow him as the prize of mine honour upon my love, the most fair Violetta. My love's merit was basely sold to him by the most false Violetta. Not content with this felony, he hath dared to add the sweet theft of ignoble marriage. She's now none but his, and he, treacherous villain, anyone's but hers. He dotes my honoured friends on a painted courtesan, and in scorn of our Italian laws, our family, our revenge, loathes Violetta's bed. For a harlot's bosom, I conjure you, therefore, by all the bonds of gentility, that as you have solemnly sworn most sharp, so let your revenge be a most sudden.
Be not yourself a bar to that suddenness by this retraction.
Away, gentlemen, away then.
Away then.
As for that light hobby horse, my sister, whose foul name I will raise out of with my poniard by the honor of our family, which her lust hath profaned, I swear, and gentlemen, be in this my sworn brothers, I swear that as all Venice doth admire her beauty, so all the world shall be amazed at her punishment. Follow, therefore.
Stay. Let our resolutions keep together. Whither go we first?
To the strumpet Imperias.
Read.
What then?
There to find Fontinell, found to kill him.
And killed to hang out his reeking body at his harlot's window.
And by his body the strumpets.
And between both my sisters.
The tragedy is just. On then, begin.
As you go, every hand pull in a friend to strengthen us against all opposites. He that has any drop of true Italian blood in him, thus vow this morning to shed others, or let out his own. If you consent to this, follow me.
Away!
Away! The treacherous Frenchman dies.
Cazzo, Saint Mark, my pistol, thus death flies.
And they exit. So, it's like after this little divertissement, it's like the plot comes rattling on with a new wicked plot from Camillo and Hippolito with the seeds they sowed earlier, which just basically involves them coming on and lying about everything to make that work, because none of that is even remotely true. They have, however, set up enough, I think, to make them convince their mates that it is true. Murderous mob time! Yay!
Yay.
Lynn, then Briony.
That escalated quickly.
I was going to say.
Yikes, this went dark so fast.
It's like the playwright was looking over their shoulder, going, "Oh my God, we've spent so much time having fun with piss and shit. We better ramp up the A plot because we've left that dangling for ages. Grow murdery mob, burning brands and pitchforks. Briony."
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I feel like this now explains why they've just been throwing piss and shit at each other. because it was about to get really dark, and they do like to have that bigger contrast, you know, when it's getting really funny and silly, let's throw in something terribly dark for everybody to enjoy. But I love that contrast also, so I'm here for it.
Yeah. Have we met Virgilio before? I mean, I'm sure they've technically been on stage, but have they said anything before?
Yeah, I think I was reading Virgilio.
Oh, yes, you were. It was at the very beginning of the play, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
very,
don't think he had a
very
lot
beginning.
to say, but...
No, but was someone who seems to be a force multiplier in this particular scene. Is the chief. There, kill. Can we do some killing now? I'd like to kill. Yeah, murderiness. Mobs. Yay. So, yeah. Let's find out where that goes then. Act 5, Scene 2, Scene 12. Enter Fontinell. Haven't seen him for a while either. And Imperia, arm in arm.
Ah, you little effeminate sweet chevalier, why dost thou not get a loose periwig of hair on thy chin to set thy French face off? By the panting pulse of Venus, thou art welcome 1,000 degrees beyond the reach of arithmetic. Good. Your lip is moist and moving. It hath the truest French clothes, even like ma piou, la, etc.
La, dear lady, O leaf of love, what sweetness dwells in love's variety. The soul that plods in one harsh book of beauty, but repeats the stale and tedious learning that hath oft faded the senses. When in reading more we glide in new sweets and are starved with store. Now, by the heart of love, my violet is a foul weed, O pure Italian flower. She, a black Negro to the white comparer, this unequaled beauty. Oh, most accursed, that I have given her leave to challenge me. But lady, Poison speaks Italian well, and in a loathed kiss, I'll include her hell.
So. Do. Come. Will you condemn the mute rushes to be pressed to death by your sweet body? Down. Here. Lean your head upon the lap of my gown. Good. Oh, Mark, here's a love mark able to wear more ladies' eyes for jewels than... Oh, lie still. I will level a true Venetian kiss over your right shoulder.
Ah, shoot home, fair mistress. And as that kiss flies from lip to lip, wound me with your sharp eyes.
No. I'll beat this cherry tree thus, and thus, and thus, and you name wound.
And kisses him, presumably, during those bits of dialogue.
I will offend so to be beaten still.
Oh, do. And if you make any more such lips where I beat you, by my virginity, you shall bust this rod. Music, I pray thee be not a Puritan. Sister to the rest of the sciences, I knew the time when thou couldst abide handling.
And the music is loud.
Oh, fie, forbear. Thou art like a puny barber new come to the trade. Thou pickst our ears so too deep. So I will my sweet prisoner entertain a poor Italian song.
Oh, most willingly, my dear Madonna.
I care not if I persuade my bad voice to wrestle with the music and catch a strain. So. Keep time.
And we have the song.
Love for such a cherry lip would be glad to point his arrows. Venus here to take a sip would sell her dove and team of sparrows. But they shall not so. Hey, nonny, no. Hey, but thus I lip must owe. Hey, nonny, no.
Your voice does teach the music.
No.
Again, mon amour, dear love.
Hey, nonny, no. Did Jove see this wanton eye? Ganymede must wait no longer. Phoebe here one night thus did I. Would change her face and look much younger. But they shall not so, hey nonny nanny no. None but I this lip must owe, hey nonny no.
Enter Frisco, Trivia, and Simperina running.
Oh, Madonna, mistress, Madonna.
Mistress,
Case up this gentleman. There's rapping at door, and one in a small voice says, "There's Camillo and Hippolito."
and they will come in.
Upon their deaths they shall, for they seek mine.
No, 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 lock the doors fast. Trivia, Simperina, stir.
Alas,
Come they in shape of devils, this angel by. I am armed. Let them come in. Earth's foot they die.
Fie, I will not have thy white body.
And there's a knock at the door.
What ho, Madonna?
Oh, hark, not hurt for the Rialto. Go, go, go. Put up by my virginity. Put up.
Here are Camillo and Hippolito.
Into that little room. You are there as safe as in France or the Low Countries.
I do.
Exit.
So. Let them enter.
Exit Frisco.
Trivia, Simperina, smooth my gown, tread down the rushes. Let them enter. Do. No words, pretty darling. La, hey, nonny, no.
Enter Frisco and Violetta. Frisco currently muted.
Ay. Are two men transformed into one woman?
How now? What motion's this?
By your leave, sweet beauty. Pardon my excuse, which under the mask of Camillo's and my brother's names sought entrance into this house. Good sweetness, have you not a property here, improper to your house, my husband?
Your husband here?
Nay, be as you seem to be, white dove without gall.
Gall? Your husband? By my ventoire, yellow lady, you take your mark improper. No, my sugar candy mistress. Your goodman is not here, I assure you. Here.
here.
Here?
Much husbands here.
Do not mock me, fairest Venetian. Come, I know he's here. Good faith, I do not blame him, for your beauty glides over his error. Troth, I am right glad that you, my countrywoman, have received the pawn of my affections. You cannot be hard-hearted loving him, nor hate me, for I love him too. Since we both love him, let us not leave him till we have called home the ill husbandry of a sweet straggler. Prithee, good wench, use him well.
So.
If he deserve not to be used well, as I loathe he should deserve it, I'll engage myself, dear beauty, to thine honest heart. Give me leave to love him, and I'll give him a kind of leave to love thee. I know he hears me. I prithee, try mine eyes if they know him, that have almost drowned themselves in their own salt water because they cannot see him. In troth, I'll not chide him. If I speak words rougher than soft kisses, my penance shall be to see him kiss thee, yet to hold my peace.
That's torment enough, alas, poor wench.
She's an ass. By the crown of my maiden head, I'd scratch her eyes out if my man stood in her tables.
Good partner, lodge me in thy private bed, wherein supposed folly he may end determined sin. Thou smilest, I know thou wilt. What looseness may term dotage, truly read, is love ripe gathered, not soon withered?
Good troth, pretty wedlock, thou makes my little eyes smart with washing themselves in brine. Ay, keep your cock from his own roost, and mar such a sweet face, and wipe off that dainty red, and make Cupid toll the bell for your lovesick heart. No. If it were Jove's own Ingle, Ganymede. Fie, I'll none. Your chamber fellow is within. Thou shalt enjoy my bed and thine own pleasure this night. Simperina, conduct this lady. Frisco, silence. I am sorry to see a woman so tame a fool. Come.
Star of Venetian beauty, thanks. Oh, who can bear this wrong and be a woman too?
Excellent. Okay, there's a lot going on in this scene that I don't understand. Let's start with the beginning of the scene and work our way to the end. So Fontinell, who escaped thanks to Frisco, I think we can understand how he ended up here, because it was Frisco, presumably, who sent him here on the behalf of his mistress, as Ellen said the other day. That does all sort of make sense, even though the script doesn't quite properly signpost all of those details, but I think in production that's fine. Fontinell has now been... who previously said he had no interest in Imperia at all, now seems to be interested in Imperia, which sort of comes out of nowhere. It's like there's no real setup for that at all. And then we get to the next bit. Let's start with this first bit about Fontinell. So yeah, there's lots of interesting things in there. A little bit of racism. We'll just skip past that. And then we get this sort of seduction sort of scene. They play the music too loud. I like that. You know, have you ever played something on the stereo and you've just got the sounds and it just hits you? That's what I get the impression of happening there. And then they sing a song, Hey Nonny, no, never Hey Nonny, no. And yeah, before the arrival of his wife, or at least in betrothed. Thoughts in the room? I saw lots of hands flying up earlier. Who shall I go to first? I'll go to Rachael first.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody said this yesterday or but the scene before this, how they were talking about hanging somebody, and then you have somebody named Imperia, and then you have, you know, a sort of love scene. I wonder if this is they're taking us through a little parody of the Spanish tragedy, because he was hung from the tree in that, and there was the love scene and all that, and it is this sort of over the top love scene, or if they're taking us through some sort of parody through that before coming back to the storyline.
There definitely seems to be some sort of thematic sort of implying. It's quite light in terms of its referencing. I don't know if it's an explicit, but it does seem to be an implicit little references throughout. So I wonder. Yeah, I think you're right, because we've got an Imperia and we've also got a Simperina. It's almost like you've got it twice. Almost. Other thoughts, Lynn?
Just no. What are you doing, playwright? What? No. There.
I mean, we haven't even got to, you know, Violetta's arrival and this whole... I mean, there's part of me going, it's quite nice that you have these two female characters. They're not fighting over the man. They're sort of just saying, no, you haven't, you haven't. And that's almost good. Almost. Not quite. I mean, yeah. It's just weird. It's just really weird. It's like, hey, enjoy you can just... we've got a bed out back. You could use that. And you know, and I suppose their wedding has to be sort of consummated because they've barely spoken a word to each other, so it's not you know, consummation sort of makes it all final. But yeah, Briony.
Yeah, it's a weird one, because like at first I was disgusted and disappointed with her, but actually she's got what she wanted out of it. So is she just cleverly playing the people that are playing everybody else? Is it maybe a little bit kind of women helping each other as well? I don't know, because if it's consummated, then does she have a little bit more agency or not, or is she more married to him if they've actually consummated it?
Yeah, it does help. You know, you can't really get it annulled if you've consummated it. You know, that does make a difference. And you say you're right. There's part of it going, you could spin it that way, that it's actually, this is quite a positive thing. I think my issue with it is just weird. It's like none of this is signposted. This whole scene just seems to come out of nowhere. I was expecting the lynch mob to turn up at the door, and which I actually quite cleverly played of going, oh, the lynch mob is at the door. Oh shit, hide him in the cupboard. And then it's her instead, and this other scene happens.
Yeah. So
Lynn.
just to respond to Briony, yes, so that once a marriage is consummated, neither party can get out of it. But in drama, I have never seen an unconsummated marriage dissolved either. It's like once that ceremony has taken place, even if it's a bad match, I can't remember what it might. Remember the one where it starts out in Hades, and I'm going to send you to see if women are all that bad.
Grim the Collier of Croydon.
Yeah. So I think maybe in that one we had marriages that were pro forma, but that we didn't want to happen, but they were also a fait accompli. They're done. So yeah, you really don't have any way out once the marriage has been consummated. But in drama anyway, just a marriage ceremony also seems to be permanent. So I don't know. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sort of still kind of enjoying it. I just don't know why anything's happening anymore, and it's that is slightly structurally disappointing. Rachael. No. Okay, well, we don't have to, there's another scene to go. So let's see whether that gives us some more data, because there's a Duke to be introduced to. There's a Duke, people. There's a Duke. Sure, help sort it all out for us. Act 5, Scene 3, or Running Scene 13. Enter Camillo, Hippolito, Virgilio, and others, with pitchforks, presumably. The Duke and gentlemen with him. Blurt and his watch on his side with torches.
We are dishonored. Give us away.
Give us away. He dies.
I charge you by your duties to the state and love to gentry, sheathe your weapons.
Stand! I charge you to put up your naked weapons, and we'll put up our rusty bills.
Up to the hilts we will in his French body. My lord, we charge you by the ravished honour of an Italian lady, by our wrongs, by that eternal blot, which, if this slave pass free without revenge, like leprosy will run over all the body of our fames, give open way to our just wrath, lest, barred,
Gentlemen,
breaking the bonds of honour and of duty, we cut a passage through you with our swords.
He that was
withstands us, run him
Run him through.
I charge you, in the Duke's name, before his own face, to keep the peace.
Keep thou the peace that hast a peasant's heart.
Peasant?
Our peace must have her cheeks painted with blood.
Away! Through!
Sweet gentlemen, so you've called the Duke's own ghost peasant, for I walk for him in the night. Kill the kin and fish priest, hold out. Hear me, dear bloods. The Duke here, for fault of a better, and myself, cuckoo, fly not hence, for fault of a better, until you lay you by the heels, if you go thus with fire and sword. For the Duke is the head, and I, Blurt, am the pertinence. Woodcock, keep by my side. Now, sir?
A plague upon this Woodcock.
Kill
the
watch.
now, in the name of manhood, I conjure ye, appear in your true shapes, Italians. You kill your honors more in this revenge than in his murder. Stay, stand, here's the house.
Right, sir. This is the whorehouse. Here he calls and sets in his stuff. Sorry, that's the stage direction, isn't it?
Possibly could be, yes. Does look like that, yes. Here he calls and sets in his staff.
Sheath all your weapons, worthy gentlemen, and by my life I swear, if Fontinell have stained the honor of your sister's bed, the fact being death, I'll pay you his proud head.
Arrest him then, before our eyes, and see our fury sleeps.
Dishonest officer
Blurt, sir.
shall fetch him forth. Go, sirrah, in our name. Attach the French lord.
Garlic and the rest. Follow strongly.
Exeunt Blurt and the Watch.
Ooh, what a scandal were it to a state to have a stranger and a prisoner murdered by such a troop. Besides, through Venice are numbers of his countrymen dispersed, whose rage, meeting with yours, none can prevent, the mischief of a bloody consequent.
Enter Blurt and Watch, holding Fontinell and his weapons.
Duke is within an inch of your nose, and therefore I dare play with it. If you put not up, deliver, I advise you.
Yield up my weapons and my foes so nigh. Myself and weapons shall yield together. Come, anyone, come all.
Kill!
Kill
Frenchman! Kill him!
Be satisfied, my noble countrymen. I'll trust you with his life, so you will pawn the faiths of gentlemen. No desperate hand shall rob him of it. Otherwise, he runs upon this dangerous point that dares oppose his rage against our authority. French lord, yield up this strength. Our word shall be your guard.
Who defies death needs none. He's well prepared.
My honest fellow, with good defense, enter again. Fetch out the courtesan and all that are within.
The old tickler shall ne'er be said that brown bill look pale.
Exeunt Blurt and the Watch.
Frenchman, thou art indebted to our Duke.
For what?
Thy life. For but for him, thy soul had long ere this hung trembling in the air, being frighted from thy bosom with our swords.
Bah, I do not thank your Duke. Yet, if you will turn bloody executioners who dies for so bright beauty, is a bright sacrifice.
The beauty you adore, if so, is profane. The breach of wedlock by our law is death.
Give me law.
With all severity.
In my love's eyes, immortal joys do dwell. She is my heaven. She from me. I am in hell. Therefore, your law, your law.
Make way, she comes.
Enter Blurt, leading Imperia. Watch with Violetta masked.
Fie.
Your fie, nor your foe cannot serve your turn. You must now bear it off with head and shoulders.
Now fetch Curvetto and the Spaniard hither. Their punishment shall lie under one doom. What is she masked?
Punk too. Follow, fellows. Slubber, afore.
Exeunt Blurt with the Watch.
She that is masked is leader of this mask. What's here? Bows, bills, and guns?
And are masks.
Noble Camillo, I am sure you are lord of all this misrule. I pray, for whose sake do you make this swaggering fray?
For yours, and for our own. We come resolved to murder him that poisons your chaste bed, to take revenge on you for your false heart. And, wanton dame, our wrath here must not sleep. Your sin being deepst, your share shall be most deep.
With pardon of your grace, myself to you all, at your own weapons thus do answer all. For paying away my heart that was my own, fight not to win that, in good troth, 'tis gone. For my dear love's abusing my chaste bed, and her sweet theft, alack, you are misled. This was a plot of mine, only to try your love's strange temper. Sooth, I do not lie, my Fontinell ne'er dallied in her arms. She never bound his heart with amorous charms. My Fontinell ne'er loathed my sweet embrace. She never drew love's picture by his face. When he from her white hand would strive to go, she never cried, fie, nor no. With prayers and bribes we hired her both to lie under that roof. For this must my love die? Who dare be so hard-hearted? Look you, we kiss. And if ye loathe his Violetta, judge by this.
Kiss.
Oh, sweet Violet, I blush.
Good. Where still that maiden blush, but still be mine.
I seal myself thine own with both my hands in this true deed of gift. Galant, here stands this lady's champion. At his foot I lie that dare touches her. Who taints my constancy, I am no man for him. Fight he with her, and yield, for she's a noble conqueror.
This combat shall not need, for see, ashamed of their rash vows, this gentleman here break this storm, and do with hands what tongues should speak.
All friends?
Friends?
Friends.
All friends.
Punk, you may laugh at this. Here's tricks. But mouth, I'll stop you with a kiss.
Enter Curvetto and Lazarillo, led by Blurt and the Watch.
Room! Keep all the scabs back, for here comes Lazarus.
Oh, here's our other spirits that walketh night. Signor Curvetto, by complaint from her and by your writing here, I reach the depths of your offense. They charge your climbing up to be to rob her. If so, then by law, you are to die unless she marry you.
Aye, fie. I'll be burnt to ashes first.
Ow. Die or marry her? Then call me Da. Marry her, she's more common than the law. For boys to call me ox? No, I'm not drunk. I'll play with her, but hang her, wed no punk. I shall be a hoary courtier then, indeed, and have a perilous head. Then I were best, lie close to be hid my forked crest. No, fie, hang me before the door, where I was drowned ere I marry with a whore.
Well, Signor, for we rightly understand from your accusers how you stood her guest, we pardon you and pass it as a jest. And for the Spaniard sped so hardly too, discharge him, Blurt, Signor, we pardon you.
Sir, he's not to be discharged, nor so to be shot off. I've put him into a new suit and have entered him in with an action. He owes me 32 shillings.
It is thy honour to have me die in thy debt.
It will be more honour to thee to pay me before thou diest. 20 shillings of this debt came out of his nose.
Bear witness, great Duke, he's paid 20 shillings.
Signor, no, you cannot smoke me so. He took 20 shillings of it in a fume, and the rest I charge him with for lying.
My lying, most pitiful prince, was abominable.
He did lie, for the time, as well as any knight the post did ever lie.
I do here put off thy suit and appeal. I warn thee to the court of conscience, and will pay thee by 2 pence a week, which I will rake out of the hot embers of tobacco ashes, and then travel on foot to the Indies for more gold, whose red cheeks I will kiss, and beat thee, Blurt, if thou watch for me.
There be many of your countrymen in Ireland, Signor. Travel to them.
No, I will fall no more into bogs.
Sirrah, his debt ourself will satisfy.
But, my lord, dare take your word for as much more.
And since this heat of fury is all spent, and tragic shapes meet comical event, let this bright morning merrily be crowned with dances, banquets, and choice music sound.
And we can infer music plays stuff. Okay, so we have outside the house. They come to kill Fontinell, and Violetta says, "Oh, it's fine." Does a bit of lying. Does Violetta there? A little bit of, Oh, he absolutely wasn't dallying with Imperia at all. Absolutely wasn't. Well, he kind of was. I mean, when she was saying all that, I thought, maybe we misread the scene previously. Maybe he wasn't into it. No, he was so into it. In the previous scene, there was no dodging around saying maybe Fontinell wasn't really No, he's so most willingly, my dear Madonna. There's no absence of that at all in the previous scene. I mean, maybe forgive him, fine, but she's definitely lying to the Duke there. She's telling a massive porky pie, and then we sort of get this weird bit with Imperia and Curvetto of, oh, marry her, oh, I don't want to marry her, and then it sort of all goes a bit unpleasant, and then the Duke goes, oh, it's fine, we won't kill you after all, it's just a joke, which is quite unsatisfactory. And then Blurt has obviously put Lazarillo in some clean clothes, and he wants money for that, and there's some banter there. Including, I'm not sure if it's a topical joke or just straightforward setup for a bog joke with the island thing. I suppose it could be both, but it's not a great gag. So that it sort of ends. There is an ending. And I think with a few trims and it sort of just about lands. But yeah, it doesn't have impact, does it? It doesn't have impact. And after the previous scene, which made no sense, apart from to set up this scene, sort of. Oh, we've really hit the curse of the final session with these last two scenes. I mean, we're really enjoying it until these last two scenes. And then... it's going to need a lot of work. I think it's the rest of the play justifies doing a lot of work, but it's going to take a lot of adjustment to make this ending land. Okay, Briony, then Lynn, then I'm sure lots of other people.
Yeah, I think the author maybe just celebrated a little bit early and smoked some crack before he quite finished it. I'm not sure. I'm not happy with the ending. Could we maybe just, if we put it on, just set off the fire alarm right near the end, pretend that it's real, and that's it. Oh, I'm sorry, you won't get to see the ending. Never mind. Yeah,
Blurt accidentally sets off the sprinkler system, and that's the ending of the show. I could sort of go with that. I mean, I think there's a massaging of this ending to make it work more. I think impetus helps, but yeah, there are some things where you just can't get around the fact that text is sending us in a really weird blind alley. Sorry, Lynn.
Yeah, so when Violetta was giving her explanation, I assumed, just because of who Violetta seemed to be, that she was telling the truth. It's like, joke's on you, Camillo. There was never really anything. He was only pretending to be interested. But, then Rob said, no, she's just telling this story. So things get resolved by Violetta telling this not terribly credible lie to shield her cheating husband. Wow, that unsatisfying isn't even doesn't even go quite far enough. That is not how I wanted these characters to end together. Yeah, Curse of the Final Session. This is really pegging that meter.
I mean, unless it was all a lie, and they knew, and they were playing a game all along. But it's just there's nothing to signpost that. There's just nothing there.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Alan, then Kyle, then Rachael.
I mean, you have got some motivation from Violetta because she has at least managed to escape the clutches of her brother's best buddy.
Mm-hmm.
That's true, because they are
who was a grade 1 arsehole from the beginning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's for all his immediately having an affair before even consummating his own marriage, he doesn't seem like he's an aggressive chap in the same way as his other intended is, the sort of murdery stake them die kind of chap that he is. Kyle, then Rachael.
Yeah, I kind of liked Fontinell and his I mean, I think he's an interesting character in his shifting and his ability to be controlled by women. I mean, I think that's kind of an appealing quality of him when he calls her conqueror, and, you know, just like his shifting nature. And I don't know, he seems like he's very, like, he would be, you know, if I was from this era, that's the husband I'd want, you know, someone you could just utterly control.
Yeah, he does have that, because his almost final line, it might be his final line, yield, for she's a noble conqueror. So maybe he's... And because he is technically a prisoner, remember. You know, how much agency does he have? Maybe he feels like he has to. I don't know. Maybe he feels he owes Imperia, because, you know, she got him out of a prison situation. So maybe there's something there. I do feel like that maybe there's some bits missing from this text. I just there feels like there's some plot threads that have got trimmed away, and sometimes that happens with plays. Sometimes over time, when if it's been performed a few times, so sometimes in the energy and the excitement of an original production, you know, things that you sort of should have there just quietly drop away, and maybe that's what's happened. I could be making that up. Rachael, then Lynn.
I haven't been here for like the whole middle section of this, but I don't know, I was gonna say about the ending, maybe that it like has such a weird note of an ending is the point, because I mean, we had some gross out scenes, and we had these like sort of scenes that you thought like that were pastiche or like parody, that just then went a whole completely different direction. And then it like how there was that physical gross out before with the urine and things like that. It could be going for some sort of I guess emotional gross out, that it leaves you on this like really weird note, and it's something that's just trying to really tap into that like ew, you know, like ooh, like react, like have trying to get that reaction out of an audience, which is kind of a I don't know, I think a rarer reaction to go for and keep an audience in of this just like state of real uncomfortableness.
I mean, you're raising this question of whether the play has a point. I'm not so sure the text has one, or at least not one that the author is necessarily aware of, or authors. Lynn, then Briony.
But that's a really interesting, I mean, it's just from like with my literary critic hat on, that's like, that's something someone could write a publishable paper about, how the bodily function gross out has a parallel in the kind of emotional discomfort of the end. I mean, I think that's very smart. But going back to Fontinell, there's something very adolescent about him. So I think as a character, you could make that persuasive, you know, because they're like, you can't be in love with my sister / fiance, depending on who's taking, off to prison with you, and you can waste away in prison. And he's like, I'll waste away and die in prison. Violetta's worth it. And then later on, he says, go ahead and kill me if that's what your law says. Imperia's worth it. Very similar moments where he's like, yes, my love is I'll die for my love. And it's a different woman. So it's really more about the drama than it is about the woman herself.
And this is again, is performed by boys, and so maybe there's something about the way that frames everything that it's quite hard to take this seriously. I mean, I know it's, you know, it's a comedy, but it's also, or it presents itself as a comedy. But you know, even within the drama of it all, that there's something just a bit silly about these relationships that you just can't, you know. Whereas with an adult company, we'd be going, oh, this lands in a really awkward, awful way. Whereas with boys, it's just going, what is this? It's just silly. No, let's walk away from it. So maybe that's how you get away with something like this, and that actually for a modern production, it has to be within that sort of frame in terms of performance. They're not necessarily all boys, of course. I would probably open it out. Anyway, Briony.
Yeah, so it just suddenly occurred to me, what's been missing from today's session? Where did all the dick jokes go? And I feel like maybe what you just said about the silliness and it being a boys' company, maybe you could have leaned into that feeling if that had carried on, all the way through, because that was one of the things that I was actually really enjoying about this play.
To be fair, there were dick jokes. There actually were quite a few within quite a serious little scene. But Imperia manages to, there's cocks being kept from their roosts and things like that. There's definitely there's still dick jokes in there. They're just not as played, perhaps, in the same way. I don't know. Dan, were you waving?
Half waving.
Half waving.
Yeah, no, it's just, I think that even when it goes dark, I think that you always have to, there's always going to be one wink in there to remind the audience, I think, of the lightness of the play, that you're not supposed to take it so seriously. And I feel like this is the kind of play, especially in that fifth act, where, yeah, obviously we've got some naughty scenes and things that we can't really untangle. But I feel like this play wasn't one where you really needed to follow to the plot so much where you could, and it didn't keep you from enjoying it. And I feel like, yeah, it's true that we weren't able to untangle everything, but it didn't keep me from enjoying the play. And I feel like it's the kind of thing where, yeah, there's going to be things that we're not going to be able to see because it's not in the text. And I think the playfulness of the entire piece would carry that fifth act, as problematic as it might be. Most of all because of the fact that it's not supposed to be really taken so seriously, I think. And I think audiences would rather have, I guess, just a sort of happier ending who are going to be watching this play than one where I'm walking away like, oh, what was I supposed to take away from it? What was the message of it?
Yes, I mean, I don't think at any moment I'm worried that Camillo and etc. are actually going to kill Fontinell. I don't really believe that as a genuine threat. It's even when they get the team together with all the stuff, and you have the watch versus, because it creates a moment in Act 5, Scene 3, this final scene, Scene 13, when you've got the watch and the others, and they're squaring off, and you've basically got every actor on stage going grrr, and it just creates an exciting scene. I don't think, and we've got all these people speaking in unison a lot, which makes it even sillier as well.
Exactly.
You can't do that kind of unison acting, and with that kind of line, and for it to land in an impactful way in seriousness. You don't get pathos. You only get bathos with that kind of line. Rachael.
I guess I'm kind of like feel like on the other side of that, because like the serious bits I feel are like set up. Oh no, am I freezing?
No, you're not.
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like the serious bits are setups for the joke, because the more serious they are, then when it hits on the part where you get that jokey bit, it just becomes more of a joke, because you've lulled somebody into this sense of, oh no, this could have taken a turn, and then it just feels even stupider when the joke is put on them, because it's like then a double joke within the play, but then also on the audience.
And you've got these unison lines. I'm hoping the punctuation is accurate. Dan might be able to check this in real time. But when all of them go, all friends, ? All friends, full stop. And so it's like they basically just go, we're all friends now? Oh, we are all friends now. And it's within 4 words. It's like everyone just gone, oh, right, okay, we don't hate each other. Okay, that's fine. Let's go and have a cup of tea. It's sort of, you can't, it's and then you bring on the last loose ends and tie them up. So it's all very schematic in the sense, and they bring the Duke on, and the Duke is there, the Deus Ex Duker, to just say, yes, everything's over, and, I charge you by your duties to the state and love to gentry, because of course we all love the gentry, so that's fine. Dan.
I know Elizabeth had her hand up first, but just to jump in with the all friends, not only is the punctuation correct, but even though you could fit both of the lines on the same line, it's all friends ? And then they skip the line and then all friends, which even implies more that there's a pause inserted in there, that the printer Eduardo, who's very experienced in these plays and is pretty pretty much tries to make a readable play, a play that you can kind of picture being performed or kind of used as a script, so to speak. He wasn't just somebody who was putting all the text down and getting the job done really fast without any consideration for the manuscript. That's what I get from it, at least.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, I was just thinking about these quick turnarounds and these sort of rapid fire changes of almost genre within this piece. And I was thinking that the problem may be with pacing, because we're used to like transition between comedy and maybe like drama and the impact of them being so different. But with this piece, I think it's like all melded together, and at the end that's like the ultimate expression of that the ending is kind of be anticlimactic and sort of unsatisfying, because it's not laugh out loud hilarious, and it's not like the drama, the pathos, kind of gets you either. I think it teased us with tragedy that that the playwright knew how to make it a tragic ending, but chose not to go that way.
Before we go into final thoughts, I've just got one question left. Really, is what happened to Blurt? I mean, in scene one, his first scene, I felt there was a character presented that was quite bold and was in there. And now, yes, he's sort of a bit belligerent and he's a bit there, but it's just like he's just there to serve a plot function rather than being the dude we met earlier. I feel, what happened to Blurt? What happened to him?
He was the one that I think audiences loved the most from the play, and that's how the play got its title.
It's just like his moment came, and then he just sort of comes on and says, "I arrest you," and now we're off again.
Blurt me no blurts.
Indeed. And he gets to mention piss breach, but I'd like some more piss breach action as well. I feel like that's a wasted opportunity of a good name. Dan.
I could save it for a final, but no, I had a friend who was doing an interview about a film that we had done, and his agent was saying, "Why are you going to accept this role?" It was the villain role, and there was barely any lines until the final part of the final act of the film, and she just keep insisting to his agent and everyone else, "I'm telling you, everybody has to be thinking about this guy when he shows up on the screen. Everyone loves him. He's got a presence about him, and then that about, and that you're kind of just waiting to happen until you get to that final act. And then all of a sudden he starts speaking, and all of a sudden he's got all of his moments. And it's just that first appearance at the beginning that sets it up for the entire rest of the film. And of course, he made it his own, and he was talked about by all the critics. And yeah, I feel like Blurt is that type of, whoever got that role was somebody who's got some sort of large presence and had the ability to hold an audience and improvise where possible. And we all know that these boys' plays are constructed in that manner, for lots of room to show off their talent, which is why I think this is such an intelligent play, because of the fact that the songs are just piling over on you like the way that some plays would, and they're not just, the gross out moments are even intelligently chosen, I think.
Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot to Dan's point, but there's a critical difference, I think, between his analogy of his actor friend and Blurt. There's a kind of truism in film that the first 5 pages of your screenplay are the most important, because that's what the reader is going to read, if anybody ever reads it. But the last 5 minutes of the film are the most important. How do you want the audience to leave the theater feeling is really the critical dramaturgical question. So the fact that your actor friend in this film got to do his fireworks at the end is absolutely critical, because it's something that the audience will remember much more keenly, much more vividly than if he'd shot his wad at the beginning. And Blurt kind of shoots his wad at the beginning and then sort of peters out and becomes a plot device. So the impact that character is going to make is weaker because the play ends without him being particularly important.
But I think he was. Just we can't see it really in his. I mean, he comes on, he makes a couple of arrests there.
Yeah.
We don't know how he does that. And I think that there's just a lot more that we can't read on the page that's being seen on the stage. That's all. I mean, I don't know. Just I can't imagine that this play would be titled what it is, and the character is given this presence and this name without it being something more than we see in the text there.
I think there's something indicative about the fact that he enters and exits so often in this final scene, and that is a license to print money. Actually, if you Blurt and his watch enter, there's something that could be done there to make that. And he sort of does. He doesn't get the final line, but he sort of gets the final beat of the story because he's there having this argument with Lazarillo about the cost of putting him in togs after. I mean, I don't know whether Lazarillo basically strips off at that moment because he sort of basically says, "Here, have your suit back." But there is business there that Blurt can dominate in the very last moment of the play before the Duke says, "And we all lived happily ever after. Let's have a dance." So maybe there's more to be got out of that. Rachael.
No, I was just. I mean, we've talked about Paul Blart, mall cop of this, and I don't know, the thing about Blurt coming on in the beginning and at the end, if everybody, I'm sure people talked about this in the last session or something, but if everybody outranks him, then it's kind of, even if he's in a position of power legally as a constable, then he's not. If everybody's nobility and they outrank him and they keep pulling rank on him, then his power just becomes inefficient. And I think that in itself is funny to people. It's the same of somebody getting pulled over by a police officer, but then it turns out the person they've pulled over is in the FBI or they're a governor or something, that there's some sort of hilarity to that because your average person can't pull that on somebody, in that position normally. So it just makes it funny.
Okay, we're into, or very nearly extra time. So the general question, play overall, what to do it on stage. I think there's some dramaturgical work to do at the end, but there's an awful lot to enjoy. And I think in performance we can paper over a lot of those cracks. Maybe not all of them. Maybe we'd have to do some actual additional text work to just make that Act 5 sing a bit better. But maybe not. Final thoughts from the room. I'll go to Alan first.
Yeah, I mean, unless there was an awful lot of additional physical business which has not survived in the print, I don't see why this play was particularly remembered for Blurt. I kept expecting one of the members of the watch to be called Pike. Stupid boy. And you could obviously build that role up quite considerably because when I was reading it, I wasn't picking up early enough on the cue that a lot of the time he is actually talking to individual members of the watch who are shuffling their feet or out of line or, picking the nose or whatever when he's trying to make them look smart. Overall, I still think an awful lot of this was rather like some modern movies, I gather. It's the special effects. It's, let's have a pea shower couple of times or some trapdoor action or whatever, and the CGI has taken over from any credibility or consistency in the script.
Lynn, any final thoughts?
Yeah, so we were talking about the fact that this was a boys' company play, which in a way sort of forecloses the possibility that we take it terribly seriously. And so sort of meditating on that, it's I wonder if you could produce it in an equivalent way these days to signal that same kind of thing. And it would, I think, make a very funny drag play. Just like all men in various degrees of persuasiveness, playing all the parts. But I kind of hate to do that because I believe that theater should create opportunities for actors who have been traditionally excluded, and men are not that, you know. So the next thing I thought is like, what if you just gender flipped the whole thing? Male and male identifying actors playing the women, and women identifying actors playing the men, and see if that it kind of turns into an exploration of like the gender stereotypes, men as being really violent and women as being really manipulative, and see if the play can be funny and a little bit thoughtful at the same time if you use that device of just gender flipping all the casting.
Briony, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think I probably was quite spot on the first day when I said about how in modern entertainment, if you want to get away with maybe like lower humor or the inappropriate stuff, you will animate it, and you can get away with quite a lot more. And it, like, you know, the early modern idea of that is the boys' company thing, and I think that's the way to take it. Don't take it seriously. I enjoyed the first two sessions so much, and there's so much really, really good stuff here that I don't think we should let our maybe slightly anticlimactic feelings about the ending kind of ruin our perception of the whole thing, because that's some of the language with the food metaphors, and just really enjoyable to speak and to listen to, and lovely. And yeah, there's some really clever, artfully done stuff in this, so I don't want to sell it out because of its ending.
I think we absolutely have to remember all the stuff that's gone before, and I think it's once again, it's just that work for the ending, to make an ending that lands, because it does have quite a nice structure, a lot of it, and of course we've got to remember there's music pasted throughout this. There's dancing as well. I mean, the whole, we've got Lazarillo does a dance, and the climax of the dance is he falls through a trapdoor. Now that should be an absolutely stonking moment. It's got to be a really good dance that ends really thunk with a music cue straight through the trap. I mean, it's health and safety nightmare. But it should be amazing if done correctly. I'll go back to Briony.
Was it this one where we had some fun dancing stuff early on as well, where we didn't necessarily notice it straight away because the wordplay at the same time was so engaging? But there was also, was it somebody trying to escape a situation in a dance or something?
Wasn't there a sort of a mask occurred for no apparent reason?
With the prisoner, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, absolutely. So there's moments that are quite big, as well as moments that are very, very small and intimate, and and set pieces and comedy business. I mean, the whole Lazarillo talking to the courtesans sequence. I mean, that's a workshop in itself to make that land. Elizabeth, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I always put my Beyond Shakespeare plays on Goodreads if I can find them, because they're not all on there. But I think I give it 3 stars. It got 3 stars out of 5, and I thought that was really unfair, because I think it has a lot of 5-star moments in it, and I think that the moments kind of maybe drowned out by the ending. And I think we want to move away from that. I know that in performance, the ending is sort of, it's sort of everything. It's like, oh, how can you conclude the play, the resolution, the most climactic moments, or this denouement of the play. But for this one, I really want us to like kind of come away from it thinking that bit was really good, because I really love Imperia, and I think Simperina as well. I thought they were both fantastic female characters and would have been like a joy to play. So I think that this one is one of those ones that has really stunning moments in it, and that shouldn't be taken away from it because of the ending.
And I say, I think in performance, the ending, a unchanged probably lands a lot better than it does. I mean, it's weird, but sometimes when you're just performing it and you're watching it, the weirdness is slightly slide away in the way that looking at a text, one finds those edges more. I don't think that I can go all the way with that, but I think some tweaking might need. It's more than just the following of the plot in so much as there is one. It's just how Fontinell ends up where he is and why he's in that situation. It isn't signposted or connected properly. There's a little bit of it, but it's sort of inferred rather than ever properly explicated. You know, we had that line earlier about "I'll explain later," and it sort of feels like we need a few more moments like that just to get us there, because then I might go with it more in a weird way. It's just there isn't the linking material. Dan, any final thoughts?
I think I probably said a lot of what I've wanted to say throughout the 3 days, but to sum up, this is one. I mean, we did it over 3 sessions, and like Elizabeth and I think like a lot of people, there was not only just a lot to like about, I guess, physical comedy, language, but also, I guess, the intelligence of the writing to me, the way that the characters are well drawn out. I mean, we can hear the voices of like Imperia, for example, or the wordplay that's going on, that I don't see how audiences wouldn't walk away, unless you just didn't like this kind of humor, walk away like smiling and thinking, oh, I really like this moment. And it was really funny when this person sang this and we were supposed to, woe is me kind of thing. It was actually a chorus singing for Camillo in the second session there about how he was feeling. These aren't things that I feel like that we're supposed to be taking so seriously. Yet we can relate to all of these types of characters. And I think that's what makes it fun, I guess, in a way, almost satire of these characters, because they're types that we know, and we get to pick fun of them or, dunk them at one point, or somebody gets their comeuppance. And yeah, we still have a happy ending that may not be, I guess, on in a drama would definitely not be what you would want, but in a comedy where you want things to end well for everyone, sure, absolutely, I accept them. In fact, I want it, and I wouldn't want it otherwise. I don't agree that we're missing a lot of material in terms of text necessarily. I do think there is a lot that's not written in stage directions, and you wouldn't expect to see it anyway in most stage directions. We're just lucky, in fact, that we've got so many of them in here. Unfortunately, this is the only text that we have, the Q1. There is a couple manuscript pages that look to have been copied, possibly from another script, but it's not so different that we know. So yeah, absolutely, I think this is something that could be, and would sell pretty well today in the right hands, not somebody who's going to make it super serious.
Rachael, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I put in the chat that if there was seriousness in this, I'd want it to be like the seriousness that's there only to be knocked down by a joke, and like just undercut immediately. And then about the ending, what Elizabeth was saying before about that this author could have turned it into a tragedy, that it's by giving it that traditional like comedy ending where there's, I don't know, a wedding or some announcement of love, because we have, because there's questions about like, Fontinell and Imperia and things like that. How good is this match and how good is this marriage? And is the true tragedy a bad marriage, as opposed to the more straightforward one of, I've not been here for most of this, and it could just be that there's no plot and that I'm reading too much into this and trying to make sense of it. But I don't know, maybe there's something there that people could have left with.
Yes, because I was just starting to think, thinking about perhaps this is a much more cynical play than we're reading it as, because it's so silly. If this was by Marston, it's not. But if it was by Marston, and it's from that sort of area of repertoire of boys' plays and this kind of thing at the time, where, you know, this ending, which should be, oh, this two romantic leads, aren't they lovely, get together at the end and it's all beautiful. Well, actually, no, he's just as bad as everybody else, and actually they've come to this terrible compromise. That actually maybe that cynicism isn't some slightly chunky plot logic, that actually that the text is perhaps more cynical than we've read it. I'm not sure it quite reads that way, but I'm just wondering whether, within the context of other plays that these playhouses are producing, that the boys' companies are producing, whether that's an element here, not because it's in this script per se, but because it's just in the air. Kyle, any final thoughts?
I think it's difficult because I didn't see all the rest of it for me to really kind of have a summary view of it, but I loved the bit with Imperia and Fontinell too. I mean, when he's singing or when she's singing, and I mean, there's some really interesting, neat moments, I think, in it, even seeing just the ending. But I was confused throughout this whole part, I mean, this whole session, about what they were doing exactly. And, but, you know, one thing I'm noticing is like this ending with marriages, it seems like, ending also with forgiveness. I mean, forgiveness in the sense of like, let's not worry about loose ends. Let's not worry about like what people are up to. Let's just dance and sing kind of ending. Seems like it's part of what how comedy ends too. Besides, I mean, even when marriages are kind of put off and then that's the ending. So I feel like it does have an ending, but I do feel like stuff's missing.
It's just little things. There's something in the storytelling that isn't quite linking together. But as Dan was saying earlier, it doesn't feel like there's a scene missing that fills in the plot, or you know, things like that. It just feels like there's just some lines just got shaved off here and there that maybe in performance didn't feel necessary, but for us reading as a text does, or were never there in the first place. Any other thoughts to throw in before we close the session? No? No. Okay, right. Well, that's it for this first take, this first look at Blurt Master Constable. We've mostly enjoyed it. A few wishes to send back through time in our Beyond Time Machine to just say, could you just tweak this bit for us? That would be lovely. Thank you very much. All that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. And the cats cry mew.